There are mandated laws dating back to 1973 that are upheld at all educational institutions across the country, including Durham Tech. These laws were created for students with disabilities who qualify for supports that help make education accessible for them. Quick accommodation basics. It's important to know that accommodations are services put in place to ensure students with disabilities have equal access to education. Any student who has a documented disability can receive accommodations. To create an accommodation plan, the student must submit all required documentation and meet with the counselor from the office. Accommodation plans become effective after all signatures that are required are collected on the final accommodation plan. The process of requesting accommodations can be broken down into 3 steps. The first step in requesting accommodations is to submit the required paperwork to the office. The required paperwork includes the consent form, documentation guidelines form, impact statement, and appropriate diagnosing medical information. The consent form allows the office to share information with the parties listed by the student about their disability, accommodations, and any other important information. The consent form can be found on our webpage. The documentation guideline form is specific to disability. There are 7 guideline forms specific for disability categories. Students choose the category their disability falls under and completes that form. There is also a place on this form for medical professionals to list their title, credentials, and diagnosis of the student's disability. Medical professionals such as doctors, nurses, or therapists often attach recommendations of accommodations to this form. Each of the documentation guideline forms can be found on our office webpage. The impact statement form allows students to share in their own words what their disability is, how it impacts their educational experience, and what accommodations they feel will assist them best. This form can also be found on our webpage. The required medical documentation needed for accommodations does not include a form. Instead, the medical information our office needs for this process can include medical records of the student, medical assessments of the student, or an official letter from their doctor that provides a diagnosis of the student's disability. Please note that does not include IEPs. Any medical documentation submitted must be dated within the last 5 years. Step 2 of requesting accommodations begins by the student submitting their consent form, documentation guideline form, impact statement, and medical documentation. All 4 can be mailed to our office or submitted electronically using Durham Tech's online portal. Once the office has received and reviewed your submission, you will be contacted by a counselor and move forward to the next step. Creation of the plan is the final step in the process. Students will meet with the counselor where recommendations will be presented to the student. During this meeting, students will have the opportunity to discuss accommodations with their counselor and draft an accommodation plan. Drafts of the accommodation plan become finalized once the counselor and student agrees and signs it. Students are to send each of their instructors a copy of their accommodation plan. Students must remember that accommodation plans serve as a support, and it is important for students to understand that accommodation plans guarantee access, not success. Most of the questions we get concerning accommodation plans are common, from students wanting to know what type of documentation is accepted to how long the entire process takes, can be answered by our counselors. Please feel free to contact our office with any questions or concerns you may have about accommodation plans. The Accessibility Services Office will be happy to help.